Okay, so hold on. Hello, everyone. Hello. I have Miss Wiley Valencia Magruder. I am getting ready to play um, the things that I play before my show, and I'm going to send her the link so she can share. So just bear with me. Hello, hello, everyone out there in YouTube land, Facebook land, Instagram land, Twitter. Did you get the link?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you can share to your friends. I want to give you guys a little history about my guest, whom I consider a daughter. I just love this lady with everything I have in me. She helped me so much when I was dealing with cancer. She gave me so many tips and advice, and she was there for me mentally and financially. And I can't thank you enough for that.
That's
And
good.
so I am going to give Miss Valencia the platform right now. She will be giving you a brief description of what she does. And I'm going to mute my mic.
Awesome. Thank you. So everyone, my name is Wiley Valencia Magruder. I'm originally from Chicago. Um, Ms. Showers and I have most definitely, well, Miss April and I have most definitely shared several key moments in my life as well as her life. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia. I provide mental health counseling not only to cancer patients, but I also share that actual skill set with a lot of people that are just going through things. I just so happen to be a licensed professional therapist slash counselor that just happens to be Black and most definitely tries her best to relate to all people. Back in Christmas Eve 2013, I was actually diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. It is a blood cancer. Within 24 hours, I was supposed to get chemo inside of me. However, I had to be airlifted up to Atlanta, and I was stationed over into Emory Hospital. Stayed there for almost 40 days and 40 nights so that I could actually go ahead and be. I had to have a little hole placed here into my throat, which a lot of people do not understand when it comes to certain diseases that you may not be able to breathe on your own. So I did have to have some assistance as a breathing, had to have the ability to learn how to walk again, to talk again, all while being a really newly married wife. I was only married a year and 2 months before my diagnosis. Pretty stressed out, and unfortunately, when it came to the cancer, it took over my body really quick. And all of my friends and my family took care of me for a total of 6 months. So when it came to saying thank you and giving back to my community. I had to write over 100 thank you notes because I had so many people that supported me, not only financially, but also emotionally. So it was kind of natural for me when Miss April went ahead and reached out to me to go ahead and say, hey, you know, I am actually going through something right now. Darlene really had that motivation that was needed when you're going through a traumatic event. And so I told her, I said, wait a minute now, I got you on that. I have the ability to go ahead and motivate you. Even though I'm down in Georgia, I can still go ahead and motivate you. And when I came up to Chicago, I most definitely embraced her, giving her the biggest of hugs because her fight and her battles was just only beginning with cancer, and I still continued on to make sure that I was there to fully support her. She's also been a support as in my nonprofit Bump Cancer. We most definitely have several Black therapists that help when it comes to being able to support other cancer patients. So not only do we go ahead and provide mental health therapy, but we provide things like Lysol, masks, a lot of things that were not in stock during COVID, the disinfectant wipes, and then we also have our coping skill boxes. So we try our best to go ahead and help a variety of cancer patients that's out there. So that's a little bit about my history. Oh yes, Miss Shirley Williams is there.
Valencia,
Yes,
there
ma'am.
will be people coming in. So, and
Awesome.
I will post the comments. So, Miss Shirley Williams, hey, Miss Shirley, how are you doing? Glad to have you.
Happy to
So,
be there.
yes, Valencia, I mean, she has really, she doesn't know. And, I need young people to keep me in line. Another, what I wanted to talk to you about, the first time, I had cancer, I had just lost my mom, and I found out I had cancer a month after that. So it was nice to have a great support system. And I as well, my body gave out. I couldn't walk. I had to go through physical therapy. I had to learn how to walk all over again. And so I just really want to thank you for being there. Um, and I've got to send some more wigs to your place because everybody knows I wear wigs, but I have a ton of hair. The first question I wanted to ask you
Mm-hmm.
is me was having my breast removed
Mm-hmm.
and going through full blown menopause. I had so many dark days. I did a lot of praying, but God. But was this normal with what I was going through with having the dark days? I just went started seeing a counselor, and they told me that my body was out of whack, and having my breast removed, and of course I had a full hysterectomy. So they have given me things to help me. Is this normal type of behavior?
Yeah. So when it comes to especially medical conditions, as a therapist, so I'm not a, a medical doctor. I always preface with that because sometimes people may confuse psychotherapy with a psychiatrist.
Okay.
Psychotherapy, we most definitely help as in being able to do talk therapy. And then a psychiatrist or even a general doctor can actually prescribe medication when they see that a patient is actually going through maybe depression or anxiety, which are very common themes that we actually see when somebody's going through something traumatic. So when it comes to certain prescriptions, a lot of people will say, oh, well, Wiley, why did they go ahead and prescribe me Xanax? Or why did I get a prescription for Ambien? Well, one of the things that I inform all of my clients, make sure you advocate for yourself. Advocating means that you ask questions. And so a lot of times doctors will hear symptoms and prescribe medications for the symptom. So Xanax is usually associated with someone that is very anxious. So a lot of times we will, as talk therapy, we will actually use what's called cognitive behavioral therapies, helping people to learn how to think through the situation so that they can calm themselves and then be able to process their feelings and be able to get through the moment. Whereas a medical doctor may say, whoa, you know what? Your anxiety has you at a point where you cannot function. And that's when I tell people, look at the word disorder. So if you have a disorder, that means that whatever you're dealing with, whether it's depression or anxiety, that is actually preventing you from having normal order, and it's causing a disorder. Just like when it comes to disabilities, a lot of times I inform our clients, when it comes to a disability, break down the word again. It's a dis, meaning unable or not able to, and then ability. So not really having an ability to do something inside of the body. So when it comes to the medication, sometimes clients may feel like, oh my goodness, why is the doctor just putting me on another pill? That's when I come in and I, help that patient to really understand how to question the doctor and really say, hey, is this necessary? And then I also tell them, make sure that you're looking at all of the side effects. Each pill that you take most definitely comes with some kind of side effects.
Okay, another question. Well, everybody, I've got one of these new masks on. The one I can finally breathe. This is that SK42, whatever it is. Now, what I wanted, the other question I wanted to ask you is,
Mhm.
since COVID, the government is now saying that people like this COVID-19, they've seen mental illness, anxiety, and depression go up. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am. So, I am actually working in a practice, refinery counseling, and when it comes to our company, one of the things that we're seeing is, as well as I work for the military as a military family life counselor, we have a huge increase when it comes to anxiety or depression in relations to COVID. So let me kind of break down in layman terms what this really looks like. So a lot of people may not necessarily feel like they're anxious or necessarily feel like they are depressed in regards to COVID. However, COVID has actually caused certain things to occur in the last 2 years. One of the things that um, is really a major hit to the entire world is that with COVID, we had to become less social. Now let's think about this. Okay, Miss April, you got to think. When we see our family, the first thing that we want to do is we want to hug them. We want to kiss them. Especially when you haven't seen someone in so long. And so the behavior that had to change was we could no longer hug each other. You know, we actually had to go ahead and fist bump, or when it came to our elderly, we had to actually stay far away from them. So when you think about 6 feet, 6 feet is a lot of space. And then not only that, limiting our time with our loved ones. In certain cultures, this just isn't normal behavior. So I don't know about you guys, but when my great grandmother was alive, it was most definitely I would go and get in the car and drive and see her in Joliet. I would spend hours with her. So right now you've got babies that are born where they may have not seen their grandparents yet. And grandparents are sad about it. You've got family members where they may have lost someone to COVID, or maybe they have just lost a loved one, and all of the regulations that we had in place, only 10 people being able to be at a graveside, or having to have a funeral where it's 6 feet or more between people, that takes a mental toll on us. So it most definitely goes ahead and increases the anxiety because you don't want to hurt anyone. You don't want anyone to get sick, and you don't know if you're sick. And then also when it comes to the depression side, well, now you can't hug your loved one. Now you can't be as social. I mean, think about it. When was the last time we've probably gone to a family reunion?
It's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to depression and anxiety, we may not necessarily recognize that, oh, I have some anxiety or I'm anxious about certain things, or we may not say, oh, I'm, depressed. But when it comes to sadness, yeah, sadness most definitely leads into the depression. But when you have, your support, as in friends and family that you can chat with, that you can go ahead and take care of yourself, it prevents you from going into depression.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been posting some of the comments so you can see them. We want
Yes.
to say hello, Miss Shirley Williams,
Yes.
uh,
Hi, Miss Shirley.
Joseph Joyce,
Miss, yes.
Pan
Joseph.
is from
Yeah.
Greece. He's
Oh,
also a DJ.
wonderful.
Joseph Joseph
Hi.
Joyce is also one of my music friends. Shirley
Awesome.
Williams is um, I met her through advocating for Robert Sylvester Kelly, our family friend. Uh,
Awesome.
and now, then Ratchet Dino King, hello. I met him on Let's Share. There's Shirley Williams. And
Yeah.
then Miss Michelle um, Jordan. And
Hi.
then Miss Me, Miss Mo, she says, shout out Miss April for
Oh, yes.
hosting and conversations about mental health, much needed, especially in the current climate of the world.
Correct.
Now,
Yeah.
Ratchet, Dino has a question that he's asking you.
Oh, well, so I do work for the military. I actually am a contractor at Fort Benning, down in Columbus, Georgia. However, when it comes to Russia and Ukraine, actually I can't speak on any information that I am aware of. I can only speak about information that you've seen in the media. So I must admit, I have not been watching TV lately, so I'm not sure
Oh, it's
what
not
exactly
good. It's
is
not
going
good.
on today.
You're looking at these people over there. I mean, they're killing babies and children. I
Yeah.
mean, who wants to see that?
Well,
That's also a stressor too, right?
yes,
Because
ma'am.
we've
And
got uh, American soldiers that are right there around the border, but now we've got to worry about, hey, are we going to really get involved in this? And I'm going to tell you, I don't want us to get involved because, they talking about chemicals and everything. So that's another thing, another stressor.
yeah, well, and here's the thing. So, Miss Arlene, when it comes to truly understanding what I do for the military, um, I support the families. So, if my soldiers are deployed, the families that are left behind, a lot of times we forget we do have soldiers that are overseas, But think about the spouse, the children, you know, even the parents. I think a lot of times we forget that when it comes to a family that has a soldier overseas, that family is experiencing mental traumas and also can be anxious and most definitely can be depressed. So, as a counselor, I enjoy working with those families because I get to be a part of their support system. Like we were just sharing, when it comes to going through a traumatic event, it's not necessarily easy to do it on your own. I'm not saying that it's not possible to get through trauma by yourself, but when you have support and you have someone that can listen to you, that can actually cry with you or actually be in the moment with you, it makes that situation just a little bit easier.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have never thought, even though like I'm like this trooper, um, for me personally, I was like, take them off, take my breast off. I only had little plums and lemons. And then when it happened, I went to this deep, dark place
Mm-hmm.
looking at the stars. I was pretty bad. Did you want to read the comment that's on there?
Yeah, so I see Miss Miss Mo. I That is so true. There's so many cultures that are very much like the African American culture. When it comes to separation, it a lot of people think it's only a physical thing that you are physically separated, but the mental side of it is that when you're so used and you're so conditioned to actually being able to see and to feel and to hug and to socialize with your family, and then all of a sudden it is snatched away, that is so traumatic. It is technically grieving, and we don't necessarily see it that way, but it's you're grieving the ability to actually be, in your community. You're grieving that loss. Just like I tell people all the time, um, we think of grief as only I've lost a loved one and they've transitioned to, away from this world, but we grieve all the time. You most definitely grieve if you've ever lost a job. You most
Mhm.
definitely grieve if you've ever lost maybe a home. When people have lost their home, whether it's a tornado or a fire, they're grieving, they're hurting. And when it comes to not being able to be with your support system, you know, eh, grandma sometimes in grandma in a lot of cultures is the holding glue. She's the one that holds us together. And when you
Yes.
take her away, that separate is it's not always good. It's always better and stronger when we're together. So we've had to figure out and we've had to cope and deal with not necessarily having our communities instantly together.
Hello, Richie Rich and Black Girl Beauty. I'm going to post some more comments up here. Um, Now, what about these people that can't attend funerals due to COVID? Because what I am going through right now is, I had a cousin that died the end of January.
Hmm.
We're finally having a memorial for him next Saturday.
Hmm.
And to me, I mean, it's like, we're going to celebrate his life and also put closure. Um, and people say, well, you know, to me personally, I feel that it's necessary for a funeral or a memorial for closure, uh,
Right.
and then to celebrate. Is it anything wrong with feeling that way?
Oh,
Oh,
now,
okay.
now when it comes to feelings, the one thing that I tell everyone, you must honor your feelings. How you feel is how you feel. Plain and simple. There is no right wrong or wrong way to feel. When your heart, when your stomach has you feeling a certain way, you're feeling that for a reason. So when it comes to COVID and our traditions, several communities and several you know, different subcultures most definitely grieve different ways. And as I was sharing just a little earlier, when it came to certain states having regulations, a lot of families were torn. Some families may have, a loved one that has more than 10 siblings. So, how do you acknowledge which siblings can actually come to a funeral? How do you, as a family, you know, create the closure portion of life? And this has been most definitely a challenge. When it comes to the last 2 years, every state has most definitely created different regulations. I must admit, Georgia was kind of open. We were able to go ahead and permit families to have more flexibility. But when it comes to other states, especially like New York or Illinois and California, where there was heavy regulations, well, this is when you saw that those mental challenges come up. And when it came to supporting, families, this is where, as a mental health therapist, we had to become available on, the internet. So the wonderful part about being a therapist during COVID was that our licenses had no restrictions in different states. Currently, right now, we're back to the restriction that wherever your license is where you actually have to practice. So I am practicing in the state of Georgia, and my license is in the state of Georgia. However, when it came to COVID, say there was someone in Idaho and they could not find a therapist.
Mhm.
At that time, the restrictions were lifted, and I would have been able to be that person's therapist. So I think that was one of the things that happened in the mental health community, that we were able to help people to grieve. Because a lot of times, being in that situation where you're so limited, there's only so many people that could come together and grieve and still not necessarily hug each other. They had to wear masks. So when it came to even the traditional processes, things had to change. You had funeral directors most definitely instructing families what to do and what not to do. And you talk about that was difficult. Most definitely it was difficult as a profession, and it was difficult as a person experiencing someone that died from a newly disease that seemed to be taking all over the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone made a statement. I'm eating my cake. So, um, did you want to read her statement and
Yeah.
give her some suggestions?
Yeah. So, Ms.
Okay.
Jordan, I see you saying that you have a difficulty getting used to living alone, and that your son has actually moved out. You have a pet, and it's just not the same. Oh my goodness! So, Miss Jordan, separation anxiety. A lot of pets actually go through this, but I tell people, when their child has actually transitioned into adulthood, it's not just, oh yeah, my child is 18 and okay, time to go. No, this is actually a part of that grief. We grieve when we have something that is a normal activity, and all of a sudden it's changed. It's kind of like disappeared, and there was no transition period. Especially if your son moved out and they moved to another state. Oh my goodness, that is a shock to the system. One of the things that I truly encourage people is to reach out to organizations like NAMI. NAMI most definitely has support groups so that they can find you maybe a support group of different parents that have the empty nest syndrome. Once your child has actually moved on and your life was in regards to your child and upbringing them, and now you have all this free time, or you have no one in the house to kind of bug, as a lot of my parents will say. I say it's time to most definitely recreate your life. It's a transition period, and transition and change is not always easy, but it's possible. It's possible. It's most definitely easier when you have support. Your pet most definitely is part of the support, but sometimes we need people. And so I would encourage you to most definitely get in tune with your community. Maybe there's a virtual book club that maybe you like to go ahead and read books. I see that a lot of people right now are roller skating. Roller skating has taken an increase. It's an activity where you can be around people, but still you have the ability to distance yourself. Um, Another activity that I've seen people are still continuing is taking walks and hikes. So I know right now, if you're in the northern part of the United States, it's pretty cold up there, but this is something that I do encourage, because when you're hiking, usually you can find a group of people to go with, so there's safety in numbers. It gives you an opportunity to meet people and to actually fill that void that you probably have. And you can always reach out to a therapist. We are most definitely here to give tips as in coping and to help you deal with the issue of becoming an empty nester. So I'm hoping soon that you go ahead and have the ability to find some joy.
Okay, there's another comment. If you could chime in on this.
Yes. I was going to say, Black Girl Beauty, you're so correct. When you separate from your children, it is hard. I tell people, tell the truth about the situation. Do not minimize your feelings. And when it comes to releasing them into adulthood, you really have to learn how to have a new life. You had a life before you had children, but now it's a different type of life after they've gone into adulthood. So that separation period, it's not always easy, and it's just like grief. We will always have a piece of sadness because the fact that you've had a child, and the child was with you at least probably 18 years before they moved out. But when you actually embrace the idea that they are now going into their adulthood, and every so often they're going to call you just to go ahead and ask different questions as in becoming an adult. Yeah. Oh, she's still experiencing about the young one, stressed out about his growing pains and decisions. Black Girl Beauty, I share with you this tip. Children take on a lot of your wisdom without you even knowing it. Often when I've worked with children, they're very similar to their parents. They usually think like their parents. So don't give up on thinking that they're not as wise as you think they are. A lot of times parents invest a lot of time and energy into their child. But when it comes to their decisions, you have to think about this. When they were little and you were teaching them about the stove, right? You had to teach them the stove is hot. Some of the children will not touch a stove, but a lot of children will touch the stove just to see if it's hot. And you have to go ahead and support them no matter what, if they touch the stove or not. So, Black Girl Beauty, here's the thing: you've given your child the learning lessons that they need. Just trust the process.
Yeah.
Continue to be there for your child. Continue to help them to understand when the stove is hot. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let's see.
Now, this is another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, COVID, mental health on the rise, anxiety, stress. You know, we get people that don't want you at their house if they haven't taken the jab.
Yeah. There's a lot of houses that are divided. Uh,
The jab, we can't talk about it. They
yes, ma'am.
will get banned. But this has divided families because you have people that are saying you can't come to my house if you have not been jabbed.
Well, you know, this is
I mean, I thought this was like a personal right. Like, I say this when people go to the doctor's office and they're filling out those papers and they say, have you ever had any sexually transmitted diseases? I'm pretty sure ain't nobody writing down I done had chlamydia, syphilis, or gonorrhea. So why do I got to tell you if I done had the jab?
well,
I'm a part-time comedian, but it's the truth. Who answers those questions honestly when they go to the doctor? How many abortions have you had? Who gonna say, "Oh, I didn't have 5"? I mean, I haven't had 5, but I mean, I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah.
There's yeah.
Well, and honestly, I think that most definitely brings in a lot of stress, as you were sharing. So, when it comes to that stress, there's a couple things that I inform everyone. Okay. First off, your body is yours. Second off, you have a choice. And third off, we have to honor each other's feelings. So, in saying, is it right or wrong for someone to choose to get jabbed? I always say, you know what? That is their choice. They have the ability to go ahead and choose for themselves. If it's a parent choosing for a child, that is that parent's choice. Because at that point in that child's life, they have guardianship and they have the ability to make that choice. When it comes to the visits, I will most definitely honor people in their choices. Sometimes it's hard because you do love your family, you do love your friends, and if they have certain rules and certain boundaries, this will most definitely be considered a healthy boundary in their mindset because they're standing up for how they feel. And to understand that it does take a lot, but I always say think of it on the opposite way. If somebody decided to just pop up and they did not honor your actual request, how would it make you feel? One of the requests that I have for all my family members is just please call me before you get on the road, before you come to my house, because often I'm not home. And I rather be, a good hostess. And so when it comes to, that respect factor, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I should just be able to come to your house. No, don't do that. I might be out of town. I may actually be running errands. So just like in that scenario of, call me before you come to my house, I think at the same time we do have to honor that person's wishes. It is, it is a touchy subject, but that's the suggestion that I do give my clients, is to most definitely try your best to empathize and to understand where they're coming from, just so that you can still support, your loved one. Yeah. Care providers can provide the best care when you're, yes. Miss Mo, you are so correct.
But they're not. But they're not. Yeah, they're not. Yeah. Now the mask mandates.
Mm-hmm.
Like for Illinois, it ends tomorrow. I'm in an assisted living building, so I know they're gonna make us keep wearing the mask, and I'm gonna continue to wear my mask. Another question I want to ask you
Mm-hmm.
is uh how can people let me see how I can phrase this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, say for instance movie stars or musicians, like you got Michael Jackson and Prince, R. Kelly, all these different people. How can people take on the fight for these people like they know them, like they personally know them? You know, I go to Paisley Park. We were going every year. We haven't been in 2 years. And I wish some of you ladies lived up north, because I'm going to the Cincinnati Music Festival this year. And I would love to have some traveling companions. But how can you describe people that have attached themselves to these people, their fight? Uh, he did it. He did this to boys. Uh, yeah, he probably uh, he was on that stuff. They landed his plane. Then they sent him back to Paisley Park to die. Oh, this one, they're trying to say he was with young girls and you know, uh, been found guilty, but they want to kill everybody that doesn't agree with them. What kind of people are those?
Well, so we've got quite a few things going here. So let me make sure I clarify and totally understand. Is it?
I'm
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What I'm just trying to understand
Mm-hmm.
how people like me, I, I, I'm I'm a always, hey, big VY, like you were there for me during a
Mm-hmm.
bad time.
Right.
I love you. You helped me through my first battle of cancer. You was there mentally, financially, and everything. I'll never forget that. Something goes wrong in your life, I'm gonna be right there. I'm gonna be right there for you because I love you. I know the type of person you was for me.
Right.
Now, you know, then you got other people. Oh, anything that happened, they accuse it. They said, oh, she did it. Attacking the people, attacking people like me that said, look, I don't care. This woman stood by me when I had cancer and she helped me. I had just lost my mother the
Mm-hmm.
first time I was diagnosed with cancer. I could not walk. What do you call these type of people that are going to extremes that would want to harass me for defending you?
Well, extremist is probably the category that you would place them into, because you do have some people that um, will just not uh, agree to disagree or agree to agree.
Oh, honey, ain't no, the world we living in now.
Hmm.
It's not like that anymore. You got
Hmm.
people want to kill people over an opinion. Hey, let me tell you, somebody stepped on my foot. Um, Lord, please, long as they don't break a toe or something, I'ma just keep walking. Cause there's too many fruitcakes out here, too many psychopaths, too many people with mental illnesses out here.
Hmm.
Uh, hey, Big VY. So yeah, psychopaths. So I'm just trying to uh, and Miss Mo says our country is in a very divisive place on so many issues. It has stifled communication and civil discourse. I hope it changes. For instance, it even started with Trump. People, if you like Trump, unfriend me. Like, what kind of people are those type of people that those are the actions that they take? They tell you to unfriend them. If you supported Trump, don't call me. I don't want to talk to you. What
Gotcha.
kind of people are these?
Well, so certainly we have to think about a couple different things, and I'm one of those people. Even though I am licensed and I can most definitely pull out my DSM-5 and label people as certain things. That's one thing that I don't like to do, is to label without uh, knowing the entire history of the person.
Right.
So,
But I'm just
from,
saying, people in general as a whole. You saw this on Facebook.
mhm,
People telling people, if you support Trump, remove yourself from my friends list.
right. And here's the thing. So I wouldn't say it's good or healthy to call them a certain type of person, right? What I would say is that when it comes to each person as an individual, every person is going through a maturity or a growth level. Some people do show their true colors on Facebook, and we have to allow them to be themselves. Our expectations sometimes of people can be really high. We usually expect people to be at the mental health or the mental and maturity level that we're at. A lot of times we're expecting them to be understanding or to be compassionate, to what we hold on as being true and dear. And when it comes to that individual, well, on social media, there's only so much, you know, and sometimes people take things out of context. So we have to, understand that if the person has made their choice to unfriend us, or if they've made a choice to attack us, that is their choice, and we have the ability to either respond, to rebuttal. But a lot of times, what I see in my clients is that clients and people in general forget one major thing. The only person that we can control is ourselves. And when it comes to that control, as much as we want to help a person and enlighten them on a scenario or educate them about a situation, we don't have the ability to change their mind. The only mind that we can truly change is our mind. So that is the reason why I say that when it comes to labeling people, it's not that I wouldn't even say that, when it comes to that scenario, that everybody is considered a bad person. It's just that they have a different opinion. And a long time ago, when I was growing up, you could have a different opinion. When it came to churches,
Right.
I'm Catholic. I'm a
Right.
Black Catholic. And a lot of people would
Oh,
probably look at
Hail
me and be
Mary.
like,
Yeah,
oh my
Mary, the
goodness.
mother. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh my
Mhm.
goodness, how are you Black and you're Catholic? You should be Black and Baptist, or you should be Black
Yeah.
and Methodist. But the thing is, we used to have respect for differences. Now, instead of actually having that respect for someone that has a different opinion, a different thought process, for some reason, especially on social media, without you having your face to be present or you being present in front of someone, it's much easier to say something slick or hurtful or even deceitful onto social media, rather than when we were growing up and we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have the internet. You had to say something to someone's face, you had to confront them. And because that piece has actually changed over the years, it allows people to do cowardly things and cowardly behaviors, thinking that there's not going to be any repercussions or consequences. And so as individuals, you know, individuals right now, sometimes they are just not at a maturity level, in my opinion, a maturity level to really understand what's the consequence or the domino effect.
Yeah.
Because if we were to think about the domino effect, if we were to think, okay, my statement that I'm saying can harm, or the words that I'm responding with or rebuttaling with can harm someone, then maybe we wouldn't do or say the things that have been done and said.
Yeah.
As in those.
And I had to check myself
Mhm.
about my behavior too. You know, because I am checkable and I can take constructive criticism.
Yeah.
But I have my own boundaries too. And this see you, wouldn't want to be you.
Yeah.
I'm gone
Yeah.
from you crazy. She can't say it. That's her profession. I ain't a professional. You psychopath, mentally ill, crazy idiots. Go get the mental health that you need. Um,
Mhm.
I so love you for coming on this show. Did you want to give any closing statements?
Oh, I love, first off, everyone that has provided a comment, thank you so very much. You guys have brought up some great points that real people are feeling, and I appreciate you all bringing those comments into the conversation and those questions. I hope, if anything, I've most definitely provided some insight and some input into understanding why mental health is so important. If you guys do have questions in regards to mental health and just understanding, what it looks like to actually have a therapist. I was sharing that I do work with the team, Refinery Counseling Services. Our telephone number is 762-207-8931. You can most definitely, call us, and any of our therapists that we have on staff can most definitely take people as clients. But if you just have general questions, most definitely let our secretary know, and she will most definitely send me those questions. And yes, the at-home kits. one of the things that I did want to share is that I think the mental side when it comes to the at-home kids, Miss Arlene, it provides a at-home way to immediately decrease anxiety. A lot of times, we may actually be in the presence of somebody that's coughing or that's sneezing, especially now that people are going physically back into an office. We actually may be possibly exposed. I know here in Georgia, there was one time where actually the beginning of this year, I paid $75 to have a test, just so that I can make sure that I was not sick and I wasn't passing it, that illness to, a client. So I think when it
These
comes,
are free from the government,
yes,
everybody. The government will send you for free.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. So that to me is most
yeah.
definitely a good resource, as
Oh,
in your
yeah,
medical health, but also your mental health, because
yeah.
you are not stressed, you're not worried, if you're actually sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions that you have for me?
Yeah, anybody else got any questions? Hey, we got a free therapist here. Yeah,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know her family. Um, we've met. She's even though she's in Atlanta and I'm in Illinois, she was very instrumental the
Yeah.
first time I had cancer. And even when I go to church, I just have to thank God because He He gives me. I've got so much to be thankful for
Mhm.
because after I lost my mom and I found out I had cancer, I couldn't walk, and you know, um, I just didn't know how I was gonna make it, but God, but
Yeah.
whatever higher power anybody wants to, you know, I don't get into the religious thing. If you worship a statue, that's on you. That's what you have to answer to. So I respect everybody, you know, their views.
Yeah.
Nobody um,
And
has
just to
to.
piggyback onto your comment, a lot of people do not feel like, when it comes to spirituality, that it is therapeutic. It is very therapeutic, and it is most definitely a coping skill.
Oh yeah, hey, I
So
know it helps me. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, Black Girl Beauty, most definitely reach out, because there are several therapists throughout the United States that can most definitely help you when it comes to mental health. I know that in Atlanta, there is a specific cluster of colleagues that I have. They prefer to work with teachers because they do most definitely. Um, have an understanding of what it means to be in the school system.
Oh
Sometimes
Lord.
also battling colorism, as well as all of the expectations that are put onto a teacher. So, yeah, please, most definitely reach out to us. We have your back. We get it. I've worked in a school system in Muskogee County School District for 2 years as a therapist to students, but I must admit those teachers would come and grab me, and I created a wellness room for them. If you bring that idea up to your principal, I highly suggest it. Just a wellness room where you guys can go chill for a couple minutes, and not be distracted by anything, even if it's just 5 minutes out of your day. Yeah.
And and Black Girl Beauty, I'm gonna say thank you too because I do feel as though teachers should be the highest paid people, uh, the profession, because you are the
Yes.
extra set of parents,
Yep.
you're the counselors.
Hmm.
I mean, you're the security, you're everything to
Yes.
these kids while they're in your care.
Mm-hmm.
Now, um, Valencia,
Yes, ma'am.
what is this gonna do, this COVID, with some of these uh, schools? I mean, these kids have had to go to school online and stuff. I mean, me personally, like I said, I got as far as math. I know you have to do the parentheses first. I
Mm-hmm.
know all of that breakdown and stuff. But I think kids need to be in a classroom environment. Now they are passing students, and they say some students aren't even up to speed. Uh, so what's going to happen to those kids when we say we don't want any, no child left behind? We want them to be up to par with their reading and math skills.
Yes, actually, Black Girl Beauty is hitting on a great point right now. Social emotional learning. So, one of the deficits that I did notice in working in a school during the beginning of these last 2 years, um, when it came to children separating from the school, you're so correct. Ms. Arlene, when you say that a teacher has several different roles. They wear tons of hats.
Yes.
So you have to think about it. A teacher may have actually been a mom or slash auntie, as I say it. They may have actually been a role model. They may have been someone to do their hair or hygiene. That's a part that most
Yes.
teachers never actually get credit for. Okay. They may have been the person to make sure that this child got a meal. This They may have actually been just someone for that child to cry with. Okay. So when it comes to being separated physically from the child, it kind of goes back to when I was talking about, being separated physically from your family. When the child and the children that we're seeing right now is separated from that process, we've seen a decline in the last 2 years when it comes to children's mental health as well. So, even as therapists, we've been kind of pushed into different school settings and um, also creating different helplines to help parents and teachers getting through the virtual world. Because here's the reality, okay? There's different programs like K-12 where your child is 100% online, and a lot of families are really considering keeping their child online. Now, when it comes to that social emotional health, that now I forgot who put it up there, but when it comes to that social emotional learning, or
Oh,
SEL as
right,
they
right
call it,
there. Yeah.
um, that part is actually missing for those children, because the teachers were really teaching that before it became um, excuse me, before it became a discussion into the schools. Teachers were the ones that were teaching how to control and manage your anger. Teachers were teaching children how to have disagreements. And so now when it comes to a child that is 100% virtual, well, there's not enough real studies out there that completely proves if your child is kindergarten through 12th grade 100% on virtual that they'll be a-okay socially. It's really not something that completely supports that 100%. But programs are being really heavily pushed through the schools now so that the kids can actually learn how to still be social, how to still manage their feelings, and really understanding how to do this virtually. Because, like I said, I mean, the thing is, in the school setting, that's when you see kids having their first confrontation. That's when they have their arguments. That's how, a teacher comes in and explains, hey, you guys talk with your words, you do not talk with your hands. So, I mean, when it comes to those lessons, they are being presented virtually, but they're not, really having the practice in a real world setting, and that makes mental health therapists like myself a little nervous. They're getting the theory, they're reading the books about it, but it's not being practiced. It's not, the little kid is actually practicing when it comes to their anger to diffuse the anger or to work through their depression. So sometimes, a lot of times, they'll be placed with a therapist like myself to talk through it, but taking them out of the school, I must admit, I have my
Oh,
feelings about it. Oh
okay.
yes. So
Now,
someone said that teachers are mentally exhausted. Yes, they are.
oh, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
teachers are mentally and emotionally fatigued. Yes. Uh, when it comes to children, they do solely depend on you. And when it comes to parents, some parents are not trying to be responsible at all or accountable. Yes. Yes, actually, Miss Jordan, that is so true. This is most definitely something that we're seeing. Children are having anxiety and depression issues because of the fact that um, when it comes to online learning, it's totally different. A teacher's not right there in order to get a social cue. It when you're in front of a child, you can see the child. You can almost tell by their tone. You can tell by their facial expressions. Their body language speaks heavily. Online, teachers may not be necessarily able to pick up as quickly. So a lot of times, children may feel quite a few things when it comes to anxiety. First off, um, having enough time with the teacher. They may feel like they don't have enough time with the teacher, the material, really, having the ability to become social and advocate for themselves so that they raise their hand, or they don't want to feel like, that they're being an outcast. So, in someone else posted this a little earlier, telehealth. That is what we do as therapists now. I would most definitely encourage Ms. Jordan, if the school doesn't have a school counselor on staff, to reach out into your communities. NAMI.org is a great organization that can tell you in your area by your zip code what community service boards are out there, so that the child can actually try to see if they are eligible for free therapy, or if they, the community board can take their parents' insurance, so that it's low cost, so that you don't have to pay out of pocket, so that that child can actually get the services that they need. Yeah. So I know it's early enough. I'm going off on a couple different tangents, but I just want to make sure that I'm able to get to all of the questions. And
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's all caught up. Yeah,
yeah,
and I really appreciate this.
awesome.
Mental illness is real, you
Yeah,
know, uh, and it's real, and it's really nothing to really be joking about. I
right.
mean, I said my little jokes, but seriously, you know, uh, like I said, my hormones was all off whack when I had, you know, my breast removed and going through full blown menopause.
Hmm.
I was going through, all kind of emotions. I'm
Hmm.
not ashamed to admit it, but with the help, I got people I can inbox. I even reached out to you. You referred me to a lady that had, a breast cancer specialist.
Yeah,
So,
Miss Tia. Yes,
yeah,
Miss Tia
yeah.
is
So,
always
don't
my
be
salesman.
afraid to ask for help. Everybody, ain't none of us, and this is me being serious now. Ain't none of us, ain't none of us wrapped too all the way tight now. We all got some issues, you know. So, um, please see a therapist. Um, you got my friend here. She can refer you. You can inbox her. No, we don't get down like that. I wouldn't. Well, I know she ain't going to tell me because I ain't going to ask her because I don't do that. I don't care what you're doing,
Right.
uh, personally. But please get in touch with somebody.
Yes.
Somebody. Yeah. And you're right, Miss Mo. We can all benefit from counseling every now and then.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's
And it's nothing wrong.
I,
My dad was manic depressive and schizophrenic. So there's nothing wrong. You
yeah.
can live a successful life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Michelle's got a question.
Okay. My doctor has recommended antidepressants, but I keep refusing. How do you feel about antidepressants and knowing when they are necessary? So, Ms. Jordan, I will say that I work with several psychiatrists in my area, and they all know that I am heavily use psychotherapy first, then medication second. When it comes to depression, so we like to see over a time period to see if a person has constantly uh, had certain behaviors. So especially if you've gone 6 months and your depression, your sadness is just not manageable, what antidepressants can do is to increase certain molecules in our head, our good old serotonin and our dopamine, and it can increase those feel good feelings inside of you, so that when it comes to your depression, you're not so depressed, and so that you can actually function. So, Ms. Jordan, my first question as a therapist, I always ask people when they say I'm depressed, I kind of ask them, okay, well, are you able to wash your butt? Are you able to brush your teeth? Are you able to get enough nutrition in? Are you able to get enough sleep? These are the basic things that we need in life. When those basic things are not getting taken care of, that's when I will most definitely say, okay, let's kind of talk about your everyday situation. Are you at the point where you can't function? If your depression has you so messed up that you can't even function every day, you can't brush your teeth, you can't get out the bed, you just can't do anything, then that's when I will say, okay, you know what? Let's talk to the psychiatrist together and let's create a game plan. Let's figure out what support services or who is your support team. So, who do you get to talk to help you through the situation? And then discussing the pros and the cons of taking an antidepressant. See, that's when I say this is when you have to advocate for yourself. You do have to have somebody in your corner that will actually be able to break down that process with you. And when you have a good therapist that can honestly say, you know what, we're at a point where you're not able to take care of yourself. Let's try it. If it works, excellent. If it does not work, let's come back together again as a team and let's figure this out again. In the African American community, this usually does not happen. So a lot of times, people will just go ahead and accept what the doctor gives them without advocating for themselves. A lot of times, in the African American community, we, um, time and time again, we only go when we feel it's necessary, rather than going in for those checkups. So the person that just said it's good to have your mental health checked up every so often. We'll do it for our teeth. We'll most definitely go and get our teeth cleaned every 6 months if we have insurance, right? Mental health is the same way. We should actually do a mental health checkup. And a lot of times, if you're working for an employer, employers have what's called employee assistance programs. Those employee assistance programs, a lot of times you may get up to 6 sessions of mental health therapy for free. And a lot of people do not take advantage of it. And I tell them all the time, use the 6 sessions to just check in. Make sure that you're mentally healthy. Like you were saying, Miss Jordan, using that medication and music. Music is most definitely a coping skill. It's a therapeutic coping skill. But it's always making sure that you check in with yourself. I know Ms. Darlene and I, we've talked about this before, making sure that you're mentally okay. And when you have that understanding that, okay, my mental health is okay, that I can get through my everyday, I can go ahead and get through my transitions that's going in life, everything that's going on at work, then you're okay, as in making sure that you've taken care of your mental health. But it's when you've gotten to that point where it's, I really can't take care of myself, or the depression or the anxiety or um, whatever disorder, that mental health disorder that you're battling with, takes over and you can't control yourself. That's when we go ahead and say, okay, let's bring a psychiatrist in, because now this person has gotten to the point where it's disorder. Yeah. Oh, you know what, Miss Jordan? It's okay. I might hire you as my maid. Right now, I work 2 jobs and I do a whole lot of traveling. So hey, I need somebody to clean the house. Having a touch of OCD is not a bad thing. If OCD takes over your life, yeah, that's bad. But if you clean, hey, that's a good thing. OCD actually has most definitely increased when it comes to people dealing with the last 2 years, because we're so used to washing our hands extra, having to sanitize, a lot of people are like, man, I feel like I'm OCD. Oh, Black Girl Beauty, I most definitely, actually, Black Girl Beauty, thank you for sharing your statement. As she just said, after losing everything in a tornado, I had to take medicine temporarily. Medicine is not permanent. Please hear me out. Everyone, please hear me out. Medicine does not have to be permanent. Sometimes an antidepressant, you may only be prescribed maybe 2 to 3 months so that you can get back to what's called baseline. Antidepressants may actually be ongoing to help you, especially if you're going through like a major grief. But when it comes to medication, please, everybody know that medication does not always have to be permanent. It can be temporary. That's a good point. Yeah. So once again, I've taken up probably a little too much time.
Yeah. But I spelled temporarily wrong. I was temporarily on Zoloft for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the medication, it's just like your physical body. I tell people, if you have a small little cut, we put a band-aid on it. That band-aid allows that cut to heal. Medication, when it comes to mental health, it is usually the similar way. It's helping you to heal. And when it comes to that healing, once you're healed from that scenario, then the doctor usually takes you off. And so certainly you've had that experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Did anybody else have any more questions? Um, hey, Kels Tears. We've got a mental. Well, give a few people might come in. Just give them a description of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up, as in what do I do and who am I? I am most definitely a licensed professional counselor down here in the state of Georgia. I work at Fort Benning as a mental family life counselor to our soldiers at the ARTB, the Airborne and Ranger Training Brigade. I help their families as well as the soldiers to cope when it comes to the military lifestyle. I also work at Refinery Counseling Services, where we provide individual counseling. And then I am the owner and director of the nonprofit Bump Cancer, where we provide mental health services to cancer patients. So I have the ability and the blessing to go ahead and help people to most definitely learn how to live a better life. That is the goal that I most definitely have with each and every session. My clients know that I tell them all the time, we will laugh, we will cry, but we will most definitely get through. And as a therapist, that's most definitely what we are here to do. We are here to support people when they're getting through. Yeah. Awesome.
So we got Keeping My Faith and Kels Tears and who else then came in here late? You guys can go back. Tambella, how are you? Uh, and then you guys can go back and listen to the show.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Miss Valencia, uh, who was a miracle. When I tell you God sends you angels in time of need, she was my angel 8 years ago. 8 years ago, she was my angel and still considered. She's still my little guardian angel that helps me.
Uh, I was definitely just want to do what use my talent that was given to me, and I truly believe in that. I've done career counseling before, and I share with all of my clients that come to me for career counseling. You always do what your passion is. Live your life with your passion. Don't live life to just do a job or to work a job. Live a life to most definitely provide
Oh,
a true
I
service.
know what I wanted to say.
Yes,
I mean,
ma'am.
I've lost so many family members,
Mm-hmm.
you know, from my mom, uncles, first cousins, everybody. And I go through my spells. I mean, uh, and maybe we can talk about this the next show
Okay.
to give us some coping skills on dealing with death. I don't think the black community we're not raised like, I'm not going to be here next week. So you need to know A, B, C, D. You know, we
Yes.
don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Uh, I might not be living next year or tomorrow. Get your affairs in order. I got insurance, things like that. So maybe the next show we can talk about that. and then the grieving process, and how you can get overwhelmed with sadness, and when somebody uh, dies, all the memories of all your loved ones come flashing back, and how it's hard for me to go, hey, Adams, it's hard for me uh, to go to people's funerals
Mm-hmm.
that have lost their mother, because it brings back the pain of losing my mother. And it's nothing personal. I mean, I'll send a card, I'll send flowers, I'll even go get some food. But it's hard for me to go to someone's funeral that has lost their mother.
Yes. And I most definitely want to come back, and we can most definitely discuss it, because
Yes, yes,
it's most definitely something that's very layered.
right.
And there's, when it comes to mental health and traditions and honoring traditions, in our traditions, we actually have a grieving process. And even as a therapist, we learn about different cultures and how they process the honoring of a loved one, and also understanding their grieving process, so that we can therapeutically be there with the client in their moment. And so, yes, Ms. Darlene, I'm so for that one,
Okay,
because
all right.
that 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 presents a whole lot of different
Okay,
things that people just may not necessarily know. Yeah.
okay. So everybody in the chat, future people that's gonna listen to this show, get some questions together, and maybe in the next month or two, um, Miss Valencia will come back and answer our questions and help us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just posted the refinery counseling as in our services. Like I said, everybody, you guys can most definitely reach out to us.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Um,
I've got to. That went to the private chat. Hold
oh,
on. I've got to. Okay. Uh, copy link.
yeah.
Okay.
That way, if you do have,
This is her. This is the link.
mhm. So that is the link to go ahead and reach out to myself, as well as my other colleagues. You can see on our webpage there, just gaining information about counseling, and how the therapeutic process can help people. And on there, you'll actually see my page as well. But I did put in our telephone number
I'm
if
going
you
to
do
share
have
that as
questions.
well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. And that's the phone number, everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Um, that's the name of the group.
Yes, that's
And
it.
this is the phone number. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And I really want to thank my beautiful guardian angel, Valencia, for joining me, who has kept me insane and above water. I thank you so much.
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. I
All right.
love you.
Love you.
All righty.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Everybody have a wonderful week.
Okay.